So the British were in the Gulf for more than 100 years until 1971. The original motivation behind the British presence was to safeguard the maritime route to India when India was the jewel in the crown of the British Empire, as it was known as. After Indian independence in 1947, Britain remained in the Gulf, partly because by the 1950s, the Gulf was a major source of British oil imports and of capital accumulation as well. Britain left the Gulf in 1971 as a result of financial austerity in London, a decision to withdraw from all positions east of Suez, and partly a policy of decolonisation of what remained of the British Empire and of its informal control over places like the small coastal sheikdoms of the Persian Gulf. From the Gulf rulers' perspective, the 1970s and 80s were 2 decades in which they didn't really have an external security guarantor. The British left in 71. The US only really entered the Gulf in a major way in the late 1980s in response to the Iran-Iraq war, and then after 1990 with the Iraqi occupation of Kuwait. And so they were lost decades in terms of security. And there were decades which saw revolutions on the Arabian Peninsula. There were decades in which you saw Ba'ath Party trying to spread ideological subversion in some of the Gulf states, and they climaxed with the occupation of a Gulf state by one of their larger neighbors, by Iraq's occupation of Kuwait. So from a Gulf perspective, to have lost a security guarantee from a Western power, it was a critical element that was missing that became clear to them in 1990 when Kuwait offered very little resistance, and of course it was the US which mobilized an international coalition to have to expel the Iraqis from that country.